Pokemon Soulstones is a fan game that goes above and beyond, with a real focus on the story of the game. You're a time-traveling agent moving between the present and the future to stop a chaotic beast from being unleashed upon the region. I mean, doesn't that sound cool? It also has a lot of features, including all the Pokemon up to Generation 7, over 200 custom Pokemon which are regional variants that also have extremely cool Mega Evolutions, over 120 different side quests to enjoy, and 2 regional maps which have the cool, calm present and a post-apocalyptic future. The story starts out simple yet confusing. We are a field agent working for the region's government in the year 3564 and have been sent back to the 21st century to handle a new assignment. In order to travel back in time, our consciousness has been warped into a civilian in the current timeline, which basically means that our mind has taken over a random person's body. Unfortunately, our Pokemon weren't able to come with us, so our first mission was to report to the agency headquarters to receive our new starter Pokemon. The good thing is that you actually have the luxury of picking any of the starters up to Generation 7, but for this video, I'm only going to be using regional variants, so it doesn't really matter to me. But in the battle, I did notice that Turtwig had the ability Stamina, so a lot of Pokemon have been given buffs to make them more usable. This is also where we meet our fellow agents. Agent Roberts is our senior and is the one assigning us missions, while Agent Cameron and Rhea are newbies like me. Before heading to the next city, I wanted to catch some of the new Pokemon in this game, and the nice thing is that there's a feature that shows exactly what Pokemon you can find on the route. So once I found an Epoch Mareep, it took on the role of our starter being a fairy flying type. Pokemon in the overworld also change depending on the time of day, so at nighttime I found what looked like a ghost. After feeding it some Poke Treats, it wanted to join my team, and I mean, how could I deny the cute pupper? Along with that, I also got some others like Spinarak, Fletchling, and a normal type Cubchoo, which I literally thought was a Teddiursa for the longest time. Stonecrest City was the meeting point for my first mission, where Agent Spencer, another higher in command to me, asks me to investigate a forest as the wild Pokemon are going berserk. He also ends up giving me a Donphan app that allows me to headbutt trees without actually having to move. And you get more apps like this down the road that replace HMs and field moves, which is really good. While I was in the forest, I couldn't resist the urge of catching the new regionals from Bronzer, Psyduck, Elekid, and best of all, Trico. It was a bug dragon chameleon, so with Sticky Vicky on the team, we barged into a house in the middle of the forest where we found a person named Emil. He tells me that earlier that week, he was attacked by a shady figure who managed to steal his Pokemon and an item called a Soulstone. This Soulstone is said to be a powerful heirloom that has been passed down in his family for generations, and that the people who hold these Soulstones are known as Soul Keepers. It was likely that the thief was still nearby, so when we went outside, a sudden storm took over the scene. Pokemon were attacking each other in the woods, and shiny Pokemon were all over the place. Eventually, we run into this masked figure who we find out is a member of the Shadow Council. I mean, I have no idea what this group is, but we managed to recover Emil's stolen Pokemon. Before leaving, I helped out a Lotad by rescuing its friend Teddiursa, cause we're cool like that. There are so many cute and neat little quests like that are worth doing. Once we got back to the city, it was under attack and all the exits were blocked off. We faced Shadow Council members all over the city and eventually had to scale up the museum to face their leader. Welcome, we've been expecting you. I am Xerus, the 4th Watcher. I'm sure you're here to reclaim the Jade Soulstone on behalf of your weakling Soulkeeper friend. My Shadow Council has only allowed you both to live this long so that we can show you the power of the Soulstone itself. The power that he holds and has been ignorant to, along with his family for generations. Observe. Now, prepare to fight. Holy shit! We gotta fight a Thundurus? Okay, Thunderbolt. We resist everything he has, so like, we are good to go. Okay, that was pretty easy. After defeating him, Xerus started to lose control of Thundurus, but with the power of the Soulstone, he was able to overpower it to follow his every command. And that's also when he reveals that there are 8 Soulstones in total held by other Soulkeepers. I shall use the Soulstone to reclaim the others and return my master to his former glory. What? I know that voice. Where are you? Okay. Oh my god, it's frickin' Shaman. No, the Soulstone, what have you done? they both just fled, okay. With Shaman having freed Thundurus and recovering the Soul Stone, Xerus and his Shadow Council chase after it using their Shadow Magic. But what you guys need to realize is that they could have killed us at any point. It doesn't matter if we beat them in battle, their magic is so powerful that we would never stand a chance. With all that done and dusted, we receive further information from Spencer and the agency. My next mission is to keep tabs on Emil the Soul Keeper and Shaman, who is a priority target since it currently has the Soul Stone. This isn't your typical game with a gym challenge, so instead, there is something called a clearance level within the agency. It basically denotes your rank in the organization and grants you access to more information as you get promoted. Since we completed this assignment, we were granted clearance level 1, which increases the level cap of our Pokemon to 40. After going back to Emil's place, he begins to trust us as we saved his butt from Xerus, but he still doesn't know that I'm working for a time-traveling agency. He opens up a secret stairway that leads to an underground library filled with books written by his ancestors, hoping that together we will find out the truth behind the Soul Stones and where Shaman might be hiding. The Shrine of Shaman can be found at the Vale, marked by the Guardian symbol. The passageway opens only to those who hold a sacred charge. Shaman and the other Guardians led their followers to unite and work together. They came to be known as the Soul Keepers. It is the sacred duty of all Soul Keepers to protect and secure their Soul Stones and shield them to prevent the release of their master. Following the Great Fracture, the Fellowship began to dissipate as their powers were sacrificed. Their forced separation did not help, because as generations passed, the descendants' generations of the Soul Keepers forgot their sacred charge. I don't know what that second and third part means, but maybe Shaman will be able to fill in the blanks for us. This map seems to show that this Vale is just north of what I think would be modern-day Amberforge City. So with us having to trek over to Amberforge City, I caught a lot of Pokemon on the way. Doduo, Ghastly, Staryu, Onix, Roggenrola, Sandygast, and a Bulbasaur. One of the quests here makes you hunt down a Drapion to create a cure for its venom, and the reward is a lucky egg, so you might want to grab that too. As we are about to exit the cave, our character experiences a sort of flashback. Just a heads up, it won't make a lot of sense just yet. So, how do the three of you feel? Invigorated, like I'm an entirely new person altogether. Excellent. It seems like the sanitization process was a success then. Now, what do you think of the Argent Revolution? They're scumbags that we will crush under our feet. Excellent. We need to hunt down that cockroach and bring him back into the fold. I was concerned because that last attempt on our facility was very close to being successful. It would have set us back significantly. The rebels certainly caught us by surprise, but they paid a terrible price for that foolish mission. Now I have 3 of his best lieutenants reporting to me. But that bastard escaped. It just goes to show how much he valued you if he was willing to let the 3 of you sacrifice yourselves for his foolish cause. My lord, if I may, I believe the Architect may have escaped to the Beta Omicron sector. The rebels have a significant presence there. Rhea, Kara, I want the both of you to go to Beta Omicron. If the Architect is there as you claim, bring him back to me, alive. The rebellion must be quelled, and with them already having lost the 3 of you, if we are able to cut off the head of the snake, the body dies. So from that, we can assume a few things. The 3 of us, me, Rhea, and a mysterious third person named Kara, were part of some organization called the Argent Revolution. The 3 of us were sent on a mission against the government of Epoch and the director, but it seems as though we had failed, and in doing so, we were brainwashed and sent to fight back our own people. With us having reached Amberforge City, I did a few quests like finding hardcore medication for a teacher, gangs taking over the local mine, and delivering a love letter, all while evolving a bunch of the regionals in the box as I wanted to finalize my team before we met up with Emil at the Shaman Shrine. I was kinda hoping Shaman would just, be here waiting for us. What was that? Hi Emil. You know my name? Of course I do. You're my soul bond. You're my what? Oh dear, it seems like you've not been prepared for this at all, have you? No, Shaman, I don't know what's going on. I came here looking for answers. I will tell you all, but first, I need to do something. We are being watched. Ow! What was that for? Shaman, what are you doing? Cleansing Flux. Now whatever was listening to us or tracking us can't track us anymore. Flux, what is Shaman talking about? Emil, if what Shaman says is right, I can finally be open with you. You informed them of the precarious position that you were put into by the agency and how they forced you into being duplicitous with Emil from the beginning. I don't understand. Why is my Soulstone suddenly of so much interest to so many people? Xerus and his Shadow Council? Flux's agency? What is going on? Wait, I believe we will soon have company. Flux, if we don't make it out of this in one piece, we will need to entrust you with saving us. Find Terrakion. Good work on tracking down the Soul Keeper and his shaman, Flux. Agents, apprehend the Soul Keeper and his shaman immediately. Secure the Soulstone. They will be taken into custody immediately. I understand you befriended him, but rest assured, Emil and his shaman shall come to no further harm from now. Asshole. After that nonsense, we had to go through the mine where you can pick up an exploration kit and find a little treasure if you'd like. But the worst part was having to meet my rival, Agent Cameron, on the other side. He is the definition of a douchebag. I swept him with my dragon dancing Sticky Vicky, which ended up evolving into a Sceptile, so I had a full team of evolutions at my disposal. He then tells me that our next assignment is to befriend the owner of the local mine, who goes by the name Pier. The agency believes that he happens to be another one of the Soul Keepers, and they want to get a hold of him as quickly as possible, as they have the power of the mythical Pokemon as well. While we were here, we were asked to defuse a few short circuits at the power plants, and within one of them was a steel flying type Carvana, which looked like a jet. And because of a few earthquakes, a couple of workers have been trapped in the mines, so we had to rescue them as well. This is where you find one of the coolest new regionals in the game. No, I don't mean Drudagon, even though it is looking kind of fire, but I frickin' mean Shellos. Shellos in the Epoch region mimic popular dragon types, so you can find variants from Haxorus, Hydreigon, and many more. When we eventually meet the second Soul Keeper, it turns out that he's an absolute wimp. The Shadow Council suddenly swoops in to steal his Soulstone and escapes the scene. Terrakion makes an appearance and is revealed to be the soulbound mythical Pokemon to Piers' Quartz Stone. It's Terrakion. Shaman told me to seek you out. How I'm bonded to a meat sack like you is beyond me. Okay, so we're just straight up shitting on Pierre. You do not deserve the title of Soul Keeper. I will have to retrieve the Soulstone by myself then. Okay, so since Pierre is no longer under threat because he's worthless to everyone, he tells us that a cousin of his in the next city over also has a similar Soulstone, so that's gonna be our next destination. I really wanted to try using the regional Shellos and also a Hippopotas that I had found. It was a grass water type, which is just so rare in Pokemon, and the bright colors just make me feel good, you know? Training up any new Pokemon is a breeze, as most Pokemon centers come with NPCs that allow you to train against Blissies. The great thing about a game like this that focuses on the plot is that there's no filler. It gives you the option to take a break by doing quests and catching all the new regionals, but if you want to stick to the story, you aren't forced to do any of that. There are some areas in the game like Amity Coast and Diadem Village that are completely optional, and it straight up tells you that, so you don't get confused and waste your time. Later on, we have another flashback, only this time it's with a person called the Architect, who is presumably the leader of the Argent Revolution. He asked the three of us to charge into the Republican headquarters and break the protocols, as that is the only hope for the Argent Revolution and its people to survive. The pieces of the story are slowly coming together, but what exactly are these protocols? And how did the Republican agency manage to make us work for them? Oh yeah, in the optional area, I caught an Epoch Zora, which is an Ice Dark type and is going to be one of the mainstays on my team. So unfortunately, it was time to part ways with Drowny. Once I got back to the Pokemon Center, I was able to change a lot of my Pokemon moves thanks to the Move Relearner station, and I had a good feeling that Hippowdon would be my MVP with moves like Spore and Leech Seed. On the road up to Vindvale City, I caught a lot more Pokemon, but my favorite has to be Chimchar. It's one of my favorites because of the anime, and with the electric typing, Infernape looks like it's ready for action. In Vindvale City's Pokemon Center, there were NPCs that allowed me to change my Pokemon's natures, so I definitely made use of that. And also one that changes abilities. That was a game changer, because I was able to get Moxie on Zoroark, Regenerator on Ampharos, and Drizzle on Hippowdon. One of the funniest quests in this game is actually just talking to a bunch of old people in a community center, because they just rant and rant about how bad the new Pokemon games are, and it's something alright. So what do they do in Generation 8? Showcase making curry as one of the key features of the game. Curry, for God's sake. That isn't true, Dad. They had Galarian forms. Okay, fine, like 11, 12? You're a massive company raking in cash from idiots that continue to give them money, and that's all they can crank out every 2.5 years? Oh, and another thing I don't like about Generation 7? They got rid of gyms. Something about island trials? What the hell was that? I vaguely recall something about copying an Alolan Marowak's dance moves or something like that. That was beyond stupid. So what do you think about the fact that this game has no gyms then? Only the NPCs are allowed to break the fourth wall. Stay in your lane, player. Okay, and that wraps that up. Apparently, the third Soul Keeper lives in a monastery, which was filled with ghost types. So while going through there, I caught Timber, Litwick, Duskull, Ponyta, Minccino, Skitty, and Golett, 2 of which will end up on my final team, so try to guess them if you can. A girl named Sienna was the holder of the Violet Soulstone, and unlike the other Soul Keepers, she's actually one of the few that has knowledge about it, and she's been training her entire life with the sole goal of protecting it. Xerus is only one of many servants to a far greater evil that was locked away a long time ago. They seek to collect all the Soul Stones and release the evil and the latent power trapped within these stones. I await the Shadow Council. Let them try to come and claim me. I will be ready for them. Somebody call? Ah, you must be one of Xerus' lackeys. I expect you're here to try and reclaim my Soul Stone. There won't be any trying, priestess. Is that so? Well, then why don't you take it from me? Challenge accepted. Missed me. I have mastered the shadow and darkness in anticipation of this day. Now it is only my turn to repay in kind. Marshadow, Shadow Sneak, now! Ugh. Weakling, how could you let your guard down like that? Piss off, Constantine. It's a damn mythical Pokemon. It came out of nowhere. So, a Soul Keeper that has learned to tap into the power of their soul bond with their mythical Pokemon. An unfortunate turn of events, but this is a minor setback nonetheless. You underestimate my strength, Counselor Constantine. Marshadow, finish the job with Phantom Force. Witch, what did you do to my brother? Marshadow, you spirit shackle. What have you done to me, woman? Why can't I fade into the shadows? Making sure you don't escape. I'm not letting you run back to Xerus to warn him. Sienna and Marshadow were handling the situation pretty well, but that's when a new person called Aki walks in telling Sienna to stop giving in to her anger. This small little fight between them gives the Shadow Council an opportunity to escape. Sienna then yells at Aki, telling him the consequences of them being too close together, as Aki is the 4th Soul Keeper and the holder of the Lapis Soulstone. Apparently, when multiple Soulstones are brought together, it amplifies the power of the Fallen One from Legend, also strengthening its followers, which is precisely why the Shadow Council was able to escape. In order to make sure we were trustworthy and strong enough to handle the secret of the Soul Keepers, she challenges us to a battle, and it's a little weird how every main character in this game is some past figure in the official games, like Cameron is Gary and Sienna is Fantina. So if you were listening earlier, you will know that I said that our Soul Stones carry an ancient evil known as the Fallen One to us. The essence of this evil is trapped within our Soul Stone. An event known as the Great Fracture is when our ancestors, the original Soul Keepers, bonded together with our soulbound Pokemon. Their power combined was enough to fracture this first evil and allow our ancestors to trap its power in these Soul Stones. To prevent its return, the original Soul Keepers and their mythical and legendary soulbound Pokemon, who came to be known as the Circle of Soul Keepers, had to separate to prevent the trap power from attracting the attention of Xerus, his fellow Watchers, and their servants. The followers of the Fallen One, collectively known as the Order of Watchers, are empowered by the presence of the Fallen One, even as it stays trapped within these Soul Stones. Our ancestors had been able to fly under the radar for several generations, always on the run from Xerus, who seeks to amass all these Soul Stones and free his master from its prison. You conveniently left out the part that each of the Soul Stone represents a certain aspect. Sienna's Soul Stone represents wrath, and that's why you'll notice she has a very short temper. Our final plan was to try to find the other Soul Keepers as quickly as possible, and the one person who knows where they might be is a witch doctor on Kukui Isles. So me and Aki take off for the journey, but before that I had to meet up with Agent Spencer to get details on my next assignment. It might be a bit confusing, so let me just do a quick recap. Ever since I had been sanitized by Shaman, the agency has not been able to track my every step and hear in on conversations. So I'm freely working alongside the Soul Keepers on one hand, but I'm still forced to work with the agency, otherwise we would have our consciousness replaced. As we're about to head up the lighthouse, we get another flashback. It basically tells us the reason we joined the Argent Revolution, which was my mom getting killed by the Republicans. And what I noticed with these flashbacks is that it makes more sense that we lost our memory rather than just being brainwashed, because we still have control over our own actions. When we meet up with Agent Spencer, he also tells us to head to Kakui Isles to rendezvous with Agent Kara, as there is a source of energy similar to the Soulstones there. He also grants us clearance level 3 after beating him in battle, and adds the mini Lapras app to let me surf around the region. But a crucial note was that he mentioned Agent Kara, which means that she's also being used by the agency. I thought since we hadn't met her like Rhea at the start of the game, that she must have escaped their clutches, or at least a chance of that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Flux, this is Agent Kara. Thank you for coming to my assistance. I believe Spencer disclosed to you that I've been undercover trying to narrow in on the location of another one of these Watchers. I have reason to believe that this Watcher has been in hiding deep in the Imbaru jungles. My intel has suggested his name is Ezreal and he's a witch doctor. This must have been the same witch doctor which Aki and I were supposed to meet up with, so if he's already there then he might be in danger. But when the three of us agents entered his home, he immediately attacks us and says, "You will never take me alive, you Republican swines," which is pretty presumptuous. I mean, sure, Rhea might look like a pig, but me and Kara? No way. Anyways, I ended up losing to a regional bug-type Leafeon and I didn't see many ways to win. So in the end I had to drop Fuji the Golduck from my team and picked up Golett, which is a Psychic Steel type and is just an overall hard-hitting tank. Epoch Golurk looks phenomenal and has an amazing moveset to go with it. So after beating him, a huge piece of the story is finally revealed, so pay close attention. Flux, stop! He's on our side. Ezreal isn't a Watcher, or at least, he isn't anymore. Agents. This body belongs to a Watcher, but its consciousness does not. The Watcher was displaced long ago when I transferred my consciousness from the future to this timeline. I am the leader of the Argent Revolution, the rebel group from the future that was trying to overthrow the corrupt Republican government. All three of you were my most trusted lieutenants. On an attack of desperation on the Republican facility, I had the three of you damage the agency's technologies. Regrettably, you were captured by the agency and I was afraid the Argent Revolution had suffered a massive loss that day. I fled to this current timeline when I knew they had seized you. We learned that the architect betrayed the Epoch government and was imprisoned for attempting to destroy the technology he built. Lies. That is nothing but the agency's indoctrination. They wanted to use my technologies for purposes that it wasn't designed for. They wanted to use it to enslave and strip us of our freedoms. They arrested me before I could even destroy the technology. I escaped and began the Argent Revolution when I realized how drunk with power the Republicans had become. After being captured on the mission I sent you on, the agency thought they had sanitized you completely. Your hesitations, your resistance to their directives. It is because the sanitization protocol has not worked as they intended. He then goes on to give us an explanation as to what has been happening in the agency. Ezreal had built 3 different protocols. The sanitization protocol was meant for curing memory loss, but was used by the Republicans to reshape one's mind entirely and make them into their soldiers. The warping protocol was meant to be used for transferring the consciousness from one person to another, but it was used against the will of many people. And finally, the mindlink protocol, which is overpowered. I mean, just look up the term hive mind and you'll know what I mean. By the end of things, we receive a Mega Ring from Ezreal and are also granted clearance level 4 from Kara, as she is slightly higher ranked than us in the agency. With a lot of the story unraveled, I wanted to take a quick break, so I headed to Ocean View City, which I think is completely optional. But the reason I came here is cause there's a rumor about that there is a secret black market, and the casino of course. And in typical Pokemon fashion, we gambled away all of our money to buy illegal Pokemon, and the one that I was after was the regional Eevee. So while gathering up coins through Voltorb Flip, I discovered that there was a new minigame called the Triad Tournament. You basically buy cards of different tiers and then place them on a 3x3 board to claim your opponent's cards. It's pretty cool, and I actually had a lot of fun strategizing. Eventually, I found this shady dude in the metro line and he offered to take us to the black market as long as we were blindfolded. A little kinky if you ask me, but who's to say that I won't enjoy it? Nothing. After being dropped off, I took a look around to find people pawning off uncommon Pokemon, a guy who changes the Pokeball of your Pokemon, a couple of move tutors, and most importantly, them grannies. They allow you to exchange any Megastone you have for any Pokemon in the game. So I traded a few others away to get the Megastones for Hippowdon and Infernape. My next destination was Sirius City, as that's where we can find the Soul Keeper named Christina, who also happens to be the mayor of the town. But along the route, Spencer just shows up out of nowhere, makes his lackeys hold me down, and then injects me with a serum. So at this point, it's fair to say that he's a saggy piece of crap. The first thing I did after entering Sirius City was go to the mayor's office, but the manager wouldn't let me in as she's quote unquote busy. Hey sweetheart, 5,000 for me to blow your Pokemon's mind. If you want, I'll let my escort Pokemon take care of your Pokemon, if you catch my drift. What do you say? Okay, let's give it a shot. Pick a Pokemon you want to treat. Enjoy the rest of your day. What? Is that it? Oh my god, it has Pokerus. It's a freaking virus. You gotta be shitting me. I then headed to the library and ended up meeting Sienna and Pierre. We caught them up on everything that happened in Kukui Isles and then found a police officer who mentions that there's been a huge surge in drugs on the streets thanks to an underground rebel named Alexis Thorne. Hello citizen, how can I help you? My name is Flux, and I'm not a citizen of Sirius City, but I spoke to one of your police officers, Detective Dent, in the Grand Archives. The police officer said that he believes the drugs might be coming from Alexis Thorne's rebels. He believes she might be hiding in the sewers. Alexis? The drugs are her doing? That girl has been a pain in my ass ever since I became mayor. Are you aware that you're a soul keeper and guardian of the Origin Soulstone? In vague generalities, yes. My pendant is a piece that locks away the soul of some fallen evil. I have a mythical Pokemon, Magearna, who is my partner, whose power I can tap into. So, you say there are other Soul Keepers in the Grand Archives right now? Yeah, there are 2 of them in the Grand Archives. We've been here researching, trying to gather more knowledge. This is troubling. I can't meet up with them because that's gonna attract every Shadow Council member within a 10-mile radius. I'll send some of the police officers to take them to a safe place away from Xerus and away from me. Now, the other problem is I'm gonna really need my Magearna for self-defense if I have a target on my back from Xerus. I've been useless of late because my Magearna was kidnapped by that bitch. What? She has your mythical Pokemon? Yes. As much as I want to squash that pest, I can't devote a full task force to storm the sewers for personal reasons. So from the look of things, she's a pretty crappy mayor. She blames all of the problems of the city on everyone else and doesn't do anything about them. In the end, she makes me go do her dirty work, but I had to talk to the lead detective back at the library before that. I'll go ahead down to the sewer level to try to scope out the criminal leaders. Wait, before you go, did you happen to see a lady with a red dress and a guy with a mining hat in here? I do recall seeing them, but I turned around and they were gone. Christina sent those cops awfully quickly to take Sienna and Pierre away. I thought they were strapped for resources. Weird. On top of what just happened, I had a few thoughts. Like, there is no way that some normal person could just steal Magearna away. If anything, the mythical would be able to escape easily, so as we got through the sewers, we took down a few drug lords off the street and eventually found Alexis. Magearna, run! Get out here! I'll deal with this! Magearna, why are you still here? We can't let that monster Christina take you back. Hold on. What? Are you not holding this Magearna against its will? I believe this is the one that Terrakion told us to find. I am so confused right now. Aren't you the evil criminal kingpin that commands all the lowlife thugs in the city? What? No, I'm the one trying to clean up the city. My bitch of a sister is the one that's failed the city. Sister? Christina is your sister? Oh my god. She's actually been helping Xerus use Sirius City as a main gathering place for the Order of Watchers. What? I can't believe that a Soul Keeper is siding with the Watchers. Alexis, you know Christina wasn't always like this. She just allowed the greed to get to her. Greed. Does the Origin Soulstone represent the aspect of greed? We need to keep the remaining 6 Soulstones away from the Watchers since they already have one effectively under their control, with Christina being Xerus' puppet. At this point, we realized that we had just handed over Xerus a 3rd Soulstone as Christina probably took Sienna and Pierre into custody. What the hell was that? Did part of the sewer just collapse around us? Shadow Council, seal off their escapes. Ha, Flux, thank you for leading me right to my sister. Flux, are you okay? I heard the collapse in the sewer and came rushing. Mayor Christina? What are you doing down here? One of you, Shadow Council, deal with the detective. He's seen too much. Yes, Lady Thorne. Die. Good. Now that we've dealt with the witness, it's your turn. Negative. Huh? What just happened? Magirna? I think she froze time. Affirmative, but I cannot freeze time for long, Lady Thorn. When I lose control, I will teleport you as far away as I can send you. Somewhere safe from Christina. I won't have the energy to teleport all of us though. Christina will capture me again. But fear not, we shall prevail. Find Terrakion, find the other Soul Keepers. Do not forsake me. Magirna, no, you can't. I am losing control. Teleporting, now. With us being teleported to the subway, we could sneak our way onto a train heading towards Vegas City, as Sirius City is no longer safe. And she happens to tell us a story of how she first saved Magirna. It all started when Terrakion came to me and warned me that Xerus was on the move again. He needed my help to recover the Quartz Soulstone because he said his Soul Keeper was a naive fool. I agreed because I knew with Terrakion's help, I would stand a chance of rescuing Magirna from Christina's grasp. We don't have much time. Magirna, stand back. Sometimes you make it too easy for me, little sister. And you brought the mighty Terrakion with you too? How fortunate. Now I get to have Magirna, Shaman, and Terrakion? How fortunate. Magirna, get us out of here. Not so fast. My shadow constraint shall stop your escape. Leave, mortals. Find the one named Flux. Magirna, do it. So you see now, Flux? That's why it was a foolish mistake. Terrakion is perhaps the mightiest of the soulbound, and now that they have Magirna back, that entire mission was in vain. But hold on, when Christina confronted you, did I hear you correctly when you said that she had Shaman too? I think that's what she said. It's a bit of a blur, but yeah, she was gloating at having a bunch of the mythical soulbound Pokemon. Something doesn't make sense. How does she have Shaman? The agency and Spencer took Emily's Shaman into custody. Damn it! This is even worse than I could have imagined. That means they have 4 Soulstones. This can only mean one thing. My employer is working with the enemy. A whole lot of crap just went down, and this part of the game was one of my favorites because you just find out so many twists and turns within the plot, and it keeps you interested for what's coming up next. But now that we're in Vegas City, what do we do next? I have no idea where the other Soul Keepers could be. No need, I know the location of 2 others. Okay, technically, they're just 1. I don't know how it works exactly, but the holders are twin children, Leo and Celine. The Cosmic Soulstone was actually broken into 2, as I understand. The Sun Soulstone and Moon Soulstone. I think it has something to do with the fact that their soulbound Pokemon are Solga, Leo, and Lunala. Let's not pass up on the fact that I've played for nearly 41 hours and only have 4 out of 10 clearance levels. Once we arrive, we find both Ezreal and Rhea and catch them up on all the events that took place, including the fact that our agency is most likely helping Xerus and the Circle of Watchers. I took a little break from all the story action to fix up my team, so I grabbed Sergeant Peanut Butter from the PC and trained it up. Sceptile hadn't been doing much for me off late, and it's a good thing to change your team members, you know, in a game that gives you so much variety and time to be able to do so. I then went back to the black market and got the Megastone for Rapidash, which is so sick as it gets sheer force as its ability. Me and Rhea rendezvous to meet up with Agent Spencer as we want to learn whose side he's on. We are aware of a few developments. I spoke to Flux and I understand that a number of the Soul Keepers have fallen into the clutches of the enemy. Apparently they have 4 of them. Well, this is disconcerting, but not surprising. I did say that we should be putting them into protective custody, but I already knew this anyway. Oh, okay, I just felt you might need to know. He didn't seem surprised at all by the fact that we said that the enemy may have 4 Soul Keepers in their control. It lends credence to the fact that the agency is supporting the Watchers. How else could they know that the Watchers have 4 Soul Keepers? We are the only one that know about Pure and Sienna being captured, and they must have given Emil and Shaman to the Watchers directly, and Christina was already the Watcher's puppet. Eventually I went to meet the twin Soul Keepers, and that's when we find out that Leo, the brother, is currently in a coma. Celine, the sister, knows a way to get him out of the coma, but before we attempt that, she tells us something that blows this whole Soul Keeper lore wide open. There are Watchers imprisoned in each of the Soulstones. An event known as the Great Fractures, when the Fallen One's essence was broken into multiple pieces and imbued within his most devoted followers, the Order of Watchers. With the Fallen One being split into multiple weaker pieces, this made it more manageable for the original Soul Keepers to defeat his followers. When the Watchers were defeated, They were trapped in the Soulstones. My brother and I believe that Xerus, the aspect of hatred, the one trapped within the Jade Soulstone, escaped his prison when the Jade Soulkeeper was first attacked. We also found the scepter that was used by our ancestors to perform the spell that caused the Great Fracture. Using the power of the scepter, we need to open a portal into the Sun's Soulstone. I believe his mind is trapped in there with the Watcher, where I believe he has been fighting and losing. Okay, so he's talking about her brother. So to free him from his coma, we open a portal to his Sun's Soulstone using the same scepter that was used for the Great Fracturing. But what we did may have been a huge mistake, as out came the Watcher and trapped within that Soulstone, Arcturus, the first Watcher resembling fear. After being trapped for decades, he summons the Shadow Council by his side and decides to make us live the same fate that he had to face. But just in the nick of time, Celine casts a goofy spell on me to make me invisible. After banishing all of them to the realm of fear, he takes off with both halves of the Sun and Moon Soulstone, as well as the scepter that allows them to release their trapped comrades. Things were not looking good for us, especially since I had to save their stupid butts from the fear realm, which was not pleasant. It was dry, mostly black and white, filled with spirits ready to take me to the grave. Wait a second, have I not introduced you to one of the main characters in this game? Breloom 9000, a robotic regional epoch form created by the Republic Agency. It transcends time and space, and it exists in almost every location in the game, giving you notoriously bad jokes, heals up your team, and is also an accessible PC. Anyways, we ended up having to battle the twin duo because they were lost in the darkness or some crap. But the good part was that Solgaleo and Lunala finally appeared and brought them back to their senses. Lunala then opened a portal out of there and we all made our escape. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this out there, but can we stop letting the enemy collect all the Soulstones? Like seriously, somebody had to say it. Shortly after, we feel a few tremors and realize that Mount Fenzu has begun to erupt, so we all make haste towards the mountain. In the meantime, I caught some new mons like Golem, Sableye, Tauros, and Weezing. No, we had a deal! You've been of great help to us thus far, but now we have no more use for you. Execute Protocol 003C. Treacherous bow, okay? Now it's your turn, boy. Not so fast, demons. I will relish putting you demons away once and for all. I don't want to die. Save me, you piece of crap Cameron, dude. Considering the fact that we outnumbered them while having mythical Pokemon by our sides, the two of them escaped, having finished off Agent Spencer. That may have just been our first genuine death in this series. A place called Ashfoam was on the other side of Mount Fenzu, so we used this area to regroup to discuss our next plan of action. It had one of those traditional theaters, and the dancers over there used only evolutions, and this way you could see all the new forms and their counterparts. We need to stop focusing on our pursuit of the Soul Keepers. What if we take away from them that which makes them powerful? The mythical Pokemon. Oh, so are you suggesting we just stroll into their base and brazenly attack them? If I may, I believe Ezreal might be onto something here. I have the agency's clearance level 6. They have an underwater base on Route 110. I have reason to believe that Spencer may have recently instructed some prisoners be moved to this facility. There's been some talk about something called Protocol 003C. Spencer said that before the Shadow Council took him away. I think that these prisoners may have been the remaining Soul Keepers. Spencer, that sly dog. It seems like he had a backup plan in case things went south with the Watchers. Hold on, so are we saying that the agency may not have been helping the Watchers after all? Whether Spencer had gone rogue in transacting with these Watchers or whether there's a greater plan behind this, I'm not certain. However, if we intercept the transfer, then we will have all the Soul Keepers, their mythical Pokemon, and the Soul Stones that we had previously lost back within our control. Okay, but how the hell were we supposed to get to an underwater base? So now we had to find a submarine, but it just so happens that the Soul Keeper that lives in this village uses one on the daily and is currently out in the ocean with it right now. So while we were waiting for them to return, I decided to find the dude's house, and that's where we found out that the submarine broke down and sank in the route nearby. The Soul Keeper's niece and her boyfriend that were on the ship managed to survive thanks to the escape pods. Naturally, we had to go looking for him, so me, Aki, and the niece named Caitlin go in search for the broken down sub. Aki gave me the mini Whalord app, which allowed me to dive underwater. Eventually, we found this secret base that was probably the one mentioned to be owned by the agency. The Soulkeeper must have navigated his ship to safety in here, but was probably captured. After tearing through the base and the agency's guards, we find a cell and break free Caitlin's uncle as well as Emil, who was kept captive here. A second cell in a different location was holding Shaman and the new soulbound Pokemon Victini. All we had to do now was escape, but it seemed like we spoke too soon as a new character called Agent Victor enters the scene and tries to take us down. After beating him in battle, we learn of another new twist in the tale. Impossible! How did I lose to you? We've come too far to let you Republican swine beat us now. Republican swine? What? We don't work for the Republicans. Agent Roberts? Too many people, man. Too many people. Oh my god, it's the guy who gave us the Pokemon at the start of the game, the guy who looks like Looker. The effects of the serum that Spencer injected them with hasn't triggered in Flux. It means that they aren't Republican lackeys. For God's sake, enough of this damn secrecy. The agency needs to tell me what's going on right now. This base isn't part of the agency. It's an Argent Revolution installation that we've taken over and filled with double agents that were all moles undermining the Republican agency. Spencer sacrificed himself for the greater good. While the trust between the agency and the Watchers has been shattered by Spencer's sacrifice, we can now use this as an opening for us to simultaneously stop the Watchers from resurrecting the Fallen One and stop the Republican agency from enslaving the beast and weaponizing it against the Resistance in the future. Okay, so with this twist, we learn that the Republican agency has two sides to it. One side that follows Director Van Basten and tries to take control of the world, and then the other half actually being double agents that are trying to dismantle the agency from within and fight for the Argent Revolution. So our goal right now is finding the 8th and final Soulkeeper and asking them to come back with us to that underground water base, as it's actually a safe area. The base prevents the Soulstones energy from being detected by Xerus and his group of Watchers, so through this way we would buy ourselves some more time. But when we eventually find the 8th Soulkeeper, she seems to have already gotten herself into a bunch of trouble. Arcturus steals both Articuno and the Soulstone, making it the 6th one in their collection. Now, Agent Victor, do you have a backup plan or what? I do. Protocol Beta Omicron. There's a rebel base codenamed Beta Omicron where a large gathering of the Argent Revolution had established itself in the future. That is, until it was raised by Republicans. The base was built for a strategic reason, because it sat atop an ancient fount of mana, the energy that drives the magic in this land. Atop this fount of mana, we had constructed a gate, a portal that allowed us to travel through time. When the Republicans attacked, we had to destroy the gate to prevent the Republic from being able to use it, thereby stranding the Argent Revolution members that we had sent to other timelines. The Argent Revolution supporters in this timeline have been working to reactivate it on this end to allow us to go back to the future. In this timeline, the gate actually is a portal to the Void where the demonic husk of the Fallen One was banished. It seems that the first Soulkeepers opened this portal to the Void and discarded the husk of the beast in there. Surely then, the Fallen One's actual host body will be of significant value to them. On my way to the next town, which is supposedly the place where the Fallen One's body is, I did a few quests like hunting down a Noivern that was about to bury the caves with its ultrasonic waves, and saved a Beartick's cubs from an Aggron attack. Eventually, we made our way into the tomb of the Fallen One, which was underwater, having a bunch of engraved scripts across the wall. So Victor, I'm here. Now what's this tomb got to do with the protocol Beta Omicron? It was only a matter of time before the Watchers overpowered us, so we needed to lay a trap. The Watchers, when they have all the Soulstones, will naturally come here in an attempt to resurrect their master. A trap that allows the Revolution to seize control of the beast when it is released. But how are we gonna lure the Watchers to this tomb? Both Aki and Wesley will serve as bait to lure the Watchers here. When the creature has been released and resurrected is when we pull the trigger and seize control of the beast. Flux, I need you to rendezvous with the others in Sirius slums. When Flux gets to Sirius, we're gonna use Emil's Jade Soulstone and Shaman as a bargaining chip to demonstrate to them that we can be trusted. If the message comes from Flux that she is switching sides and is handing Emil's Jade Soulstone over as a show of good faith, well then, it becomes far easier to convince them to come here and step right into our trap. Meanwhile, back in Sirius City, Xerus and Arcturus are actually successful in bringing 4 other Watchers trapped from their respective Soulstones, so now they only need 2 more before they attempt to bring back the Fallen One. We were tested by being sent into each of the Watchers' realms and had to get over obstacles in our path, whether it was a riddle or a straight fight to the death. We won each and every battle, so the Watchers agreed to the deal. The exchange was meant to take place back in Ice Mist Village, so before anyone else got there, Agent Roberts and Victor gave us a rundown of the whole plan. Apparently, this General Elliot is the head of our agency and is a part of the evil side of things, so we had to trick them to stay on guard at the village while the rest of us went to the Tomb of the Fallen One to activate our plan, so that we don't raise suspicion and she just abandons the whole mission, you know? Now, Agent Roberts, Agent Victor, what is the next step in this plan? All of our forces have arrived en masse to Ice Mist and are preparing for a confrontation if needed. There will be no need for confrontation, General Elliot. We have liaised with the lead Watcher in command and are gonna lead them into the Tomb of the Fallen One, where they will then proceed to release and resurrect the beast. All while being unaware of the trap that we have laid as soon as the creature is brought back to life. However, we ask that the agency, except for those dedicated to the mission, stay behind in Ice Mist. And unfortunately, Christina was eavesdropping on us and knew that we were gonna betray them. Victor did not care one bit and just sliced her throat, so that's one less problem to deal with. Too much was at stake here to let her live, and with all that done, the summoning began. As you can see, there have been way too many characters for us to keep up with, but in the end, each corresponding Soulkeeper, their mythical Pokemon, and the Watcher entrapped within the stone were side by side. Concentrating their power on the Time Gate released the Fallen One, which is the combination of the 8 Watchers, so all of their souls kind of just like got absorbed by the beast. When the Fallen One was released, Agent Victor was meant to activate a trap that would prevent it from moving and keep it under control, but for some reason it wasn't happening. With that failure, the beast killed 4 companions, which included 3 Soulkeepers, Pier, Aki, and Submarine Dude. The beast then heads for the surface, beginning to exterminate everyone in its path. The agency members that were stationed at the top of Ice Mist Village were all slaughtered, and so was their commander. As the Fallen One relishes in the destruction it has wrought, the team finally returns to the surface. I see you destroyed any trace of the agency from this village. Argent Revolution, stand ready to execute Protocol Beta Omicron. Victor, how are you controlling the creature? The same way I said I would. But why? Why not activate it in the tomb? I needed the beast to come to the surface and exterminate all of the agency. Now this timeline belongs to the revolution. It belongs to us. So, you'll let Aki die for nothing? Oh, come now, Agent Kara. I wouldn't say he died in vain. He was unfortunately collateral damage. The fool shouldn't have taunted the beast. Victor, Roberts, what is the meaning of this? This is not what the revolution wanted. You have fallen completely away from the ideals of the revolution. Silence, old man. You deserted our people when you sent Kara, Rhea, and Flux on their mission to destroy the protocols. You no longer have the authority to speak for the revolution. You warped back to this timeline and didn't even attempt to make contact with Victor and myself. You hid like the coward you are. You told us you wanted liberty, independence, strength, and autonomy at any cost. This is the cost. And with that final cutscene, we finished up the main story of Pokemon Soulstones. Although there is still a lot to be uncovered in the post-game, like the second half of the story that takes you into the future, where we try to recover our homeland from the Republicans, and there's so many new regional Pokemon as well. But that's all the time I have for now, so if you want to see me complete the post-game, make sure to let me know down in the comments. I'd also really appreciate it if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, cause these videos take a really long time to make, and I try to put my heart and soul into them, man. But anyways, I'll see y'all next time.